Hi, I'm Jess,
Hi, I'm Kristen.
and this is ReDIScover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess.
Hi there, I'm Kristen.
And welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover. We are hopping over to our next park, and for this audio tour, we are going to do a tour of Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Otherwise known as MGM.
Throwing it back. We're going to start our tour today, making our way through the main entrance and walking onto Hollywood Boulevard.
I love the feel of Hollywood Studios when you first walk in. I love all the pastels and the music. It's jazz. It's just so evocative of the era that Walt would have been in his Hollywood heyday and of all those classic Hollywood stars, Rock Hudson, Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, Audrey Hepburn, and just all of the true glitz and glamour of, I think, the most romanticized era of Hollywood. And I think there isn't a park at Disney World anyway, that gives me the same level of, like, even Magic Kingdom, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, the same level of just like excitement and anticipation as walking into Hollywood Studios does, because there's just so much greatness packed in one pretty small park there. I love it.
It's so unique compared to any other park, and all of the attractions are amazing. Like, I think this park has more e-ticket attractions than any other park at this point. So don't worry, we're going to dive into all of those. As we walk down Hollywood Boulevard, there are, of course, some wonderful shops to check out. There's even a Star Wars and Marvel one. There is the Trolley Car Cafe, which is Hollywood Studios Starbucks. But as much as we love Starbucks, we love something else even more, which is the carrot cake
cookie. I knew you were going to say that. I was so ready.
Yes. So the carrot cake cookie is my number one Hollywood Studios sweet treat that I always look forward to getting. It's like a cookie sandwich, but the cookie is really like cake with cream cheese frosting in the middle. It's decadent, to say the least.
It is. I feel like we keep talking about doing this, but we really need to just try and do our own like DIY version of this. But it's really like if you baked a layer cake and took one layer of the carrot cake and the other layer, and instead of stacking them on top of each other and creating layers of frosting and then frosting the outside, you just left both layers like unfrosted and just shoved all the frosting in the middle. So it's like a sandwich you could pick up and eat with two hands like you would eat a cheeseburger. But
Literally.
it's literally carrot cake, just like an inch thick of cream cheese frosting and then more carrot cake. It is probably one of our all-time favorite Disney snacks, bar none.
It's been a favorite for over 10 years. It has hopped locations, and now it is at the Starbucks location, and it never gets old. Definitely have someone to share it with, or don't eat it all in one sitting because you'll be feeling it, but it is very good.
I will say it has evolved a little over the years. It used to be like thinner and wider and definitely more like cookie-esque, and now it really does feel more like fluffy and cake-like, but the flavor has remained the same, so I have no real complaint there. And honestly, as long as they never take it away, I'm happy.
So we're going to move on. That, I say, is the highlight of Hollywood Boulevard.
Absolutely.
Everything else is, more ambiance, more shopping. But as you make your way down Hollywood Boulevard, the main event is back at the Chinese Theater. As you approach it, you see the twinkling lights and the signs for Hollywood Studios' newest attraction, which is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Nothing can stop us now.
Thank you for all this singing. But yeah, so Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is located where the Great Movie Ride used to be in the Chinese Theater. So a lot of the queue looks very similar to how it used to be, but now it is infused with the newer style of Mickey and Minnie cartoons. Lots of little posters for the cartoons and more fitting decor. During non-COVID times, there is a really cute pre-show, but during COVID times, you just walk on through.
Wait, I've never seen the pre-show.
It's really cute. There's a fun little transition after the film
Can't
into
wait
the
for
next room.
pre-shows again.
Can't
That's
wait.
exciting. That's
It'll,
exciting.
when pre-shows come back, you'll know we really made it.
We
So
did. So after this mysterious pre-show that I've never seen because I didn't ride this attraction for the first time until November, which is definitely COVID times, you board a train and Goofy is the conductor of said train. So you already know you're in for a raucous occasion because I don't know who ever let him drive. That was just mistake numero uno. But you go along the train, and I'm not going to give too much away because it is still a fairly new attraction. And I feel like a lot of you probably haven't ridden it yet, considering it pretty much dropped and then COVID dropped like
they had the
next
similar
day.
release dates.
Yeah. It clearly didn't like coordinate that well at all. But yeah, I won't give too much away. But basically, I think, without giving spoilers, that it is one of the most immersive, fun, like giddy level of fun attractions that Disney's ever done. I was so blown away by how much I loved it. And I liked the Great Movie Ride. So I wasn't like thrilled that they got rid of the Great Movie Ride, but I was also like, it's time. I was ready for a change, but I didn't anticipate loving this ride as much as I do. And I'm going to go on record saying it. Other than the Haunted Mansion, which is my all-time favorite classic attraction at Walt Disney World, this is my new favorite attraction.
Yay.
Across all 4 parks.
It's a trackless ride system, which we're starting to see a lot more of, which I just think is a really fantastic ride vehicle and ride setup. It's wonderful. You're going to go through tons of different scenes, so much whimsy, so many hidden Mickeys. So make sure to look out for those. And I guarantee you're going to have a really fun time. And, it's not a super thrill ride, which I like, but it's so entertaining that it gives you enough excitement without having to be rough. It's very smooth. It's fun.
Yeah, it's seamless. The transitions are like just so perfect. There's no like upside down situation or anything like nausea inducing, I don't think, but it is very unexpected. The first time I took my mom on it, she was like, what are we about to do? What are we about to do? And she was like a little nervous because she does get vertigo, but I was like, you're going to be fine. It's okay. She was laughing her head off. And I was just like, this is just pure joy. Like, this woman is, 60 years old, but she is like having just as much fun, if not more, as the 6-year-olds are. So I think that that's like the true sign of success with a Disney attraction.
Yeah. So
we love it.
The next time you're at Hollywood Studios, make it a priority to check out Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We are both huge fans, and I am very grateful for that addition to the park.
If I'm going to rope drop, I'm going straight there. But
anyways, so moving on to our next area of Disney's Hollywood Studios.
You have to walk past the Hollywood Brown Derby. It's actually the very first Disney restaurant I ever ate at as a kid.
Aww.
And for those of you who don't know, I Love Lucy is my favorite TV show of all time. And my favorite season is the season where they're in Hollywood because Ricky is making a movie and they all move out to California. And the first episode of the California series, it's in season 4, they go to the Brown Derby to eat, and all of these famous people are there, like William Holden and Ava Gardner and Gregory Peck and all of these classic movie stars. And so as a kid, I would watch that episode, and then we went to Disney World and I was like, wait, going to the real Brown Derby? And I thought it was the actual one because I was, 6. So I was climbing on the booth to look at all the characters. And I just remember feeling so glamorous. The food is pretty hit or miss, but the atmosphere is just so classic and nostalgic.
It's the most old Hollywood feel I think you'll get in the whole park. Yeah, I'd say as far as the food goes, I usually go for the filet or the salmon. I think those are pretty safe options.
The grapefruit cake is really yummy too.
Exactly. The grapefruit cake is the thing at Hollywood Brown Derby for dessert, and also the Cobb salad. So that's pretty
so
good
much
as well.
food.
So They have some classic staples. It's not like my go-to for as far as food goes, just because it is a
Mm-mm.
signature restaurant. But like you said, the atmosphere is great. The grapefruit cake is a good treat, and it's a cool restaurant.
I agree. I agree. And I love the like lounge area outside too.
Mhm.
But continuing on, and you're on Sunset Boulevard, and the music changes, and suddenly it becomes this very like big band. Um, Instead of those, like movie themes that you're hearing on Hollywood Boulevard, these instrumentals of classic films, you're suddenly hearing vocals as well now. So you're hearing like Slow Boat to China and Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and like Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree and all of these classic songs that like sort of just make you want to like dance around. I watch like old couples like twirling each other around and everyone's just having a blast. And as you walk along Sunset Boulevard, there's shops. And then on the left side, as you approach the end of the street, is this big like outdoor market looking area that sort of looks like the farmers markets in LA, like these sort of semi-permanent structures. And really it's just a series of quick service restaurants. There's like an ice cream place called Hollywood Scoops, and then there's just your pretty much traditional like pizza, burgers, sandwiches options. Fairfax Fair, Catalina, Eddie's, I think is one of them. I think the one with the burgers is like Rosie's All American. And then there is an outdoor stand, kind of like the Liberty Market at Magic Kingdom, that has fruit and some healthier snack options called Anaheim Produce. And then at the very end of the street
It's getting exciting.
are two heavy hitters that I would even venture to say, to quote our girl Stacy, are a bit of a double whammy. Jess, take it away.
So I would say these are two of Disney's biggest classic thrill rides. And we're going to start at the one at the end of the street, which is the Hollywood Tower Hotel, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. So you're going to go in a spooky haunted elevator 13 stories up. And again, to quote Stacy, it drops you faster than the speed of gravity. So the Tower of Terror is based on the old Twilight Zone shows. The intro is really interesting. It's like people go into an elevator on a really stormy night and the building gets struck by lightning and all of a sudden they disappear and they disappear into the Twilight Zone. So the concept of the ride is that you are also disappearing into the Twilight Zone. What happens in the Twilight Zone? Apparently, you're dropping 13 stories. The ride itself, if you haven't been on it before, I'm sure a lot of you have, but you're going to sit in an elevator. There's 3 rows. You're going to be seat belt buckled in. You are going to move forward through a little like Twilight Zone themed area, I guess. I don't know exactly. Yeah.
You're welcome for all the sound effects, by the way.
Yes, thank you. And then once you get into the elevator shaft, you're going to hear the narrator say, the Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, thunder, lightning, boom, and then the drops start. You're either going to go up or you're going to go down, depending on, which elevator you're in. It's going to be a different ride sequence, which is kind of nice because you don't exactly know what you're going to get. And it's a pretty fast ride. I think a lot of people think it's going to be a lot longer and they get really scared, but the drops go by very fast. At the top, when the doors open, you can see a really great view of studios. It's for like a millisecond, but that's a big plus. And honestly, I just don't even really hold on. I just like curl up in a ball, lift my feet up, and feel like I'm floating. Like it's kind of fun.
I don't really ever do that. I'm going to do that next time.
Yeah, I did it the last time I went on it and I was like, I feel like I'm free falling. And it's the most safe free fall I think I would ever do because I'm not that big of a thrill seeker, but I feel safe on Tower of Terror because I've been on it like so many times at this point. But anyways, yeah, it's a great ride. The theming is amazing. I would say it has one of the coolest infrastructures and also just the lobby of the hotel as well. They have a lot of actual antiques in there and there's lots of cobwebs. It's really spooky. It's just a very well done attraction. And I think the storytelling is just bar none some of Disney's best.
The word eerie comes to mind. Like
Absolutely.
you sort of, and the music is my favorite detail because you're outside and you start to hear it a little when you're in the like gardens and the like conservatory area of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. But then as you move closer to the lobby, you notice that the music is like too much of an echo, like just enough that it feels eerie, that you feel like you've just stumbled on somewhere that like nobody's been in a long time. And you sort of feel like you've come to this abandoned place that was once like the hot spot for every glamorous person. And they even say like amid the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood elite. But now it just sort of feels abandoned and kind of creepy and sort of like I really shouldn't be here right now. But it is really cool. I think it's well preserved in its lack of preservation. Like it's supposed to look abandoned, but they did a really good job of like maintaining that level of poshness.
There's another thrill ride right back in this section, right next door. So it's great.
Walk this way, guys.
Walk this way on over to Rock and Roller Coaster, starring the one and only Aerosmith.
Born to rock, baby. So this attraction is definitely for the thrill seekers in your group. It is an indoor roller coaster that is mostly in the dark, but definitely lit up with these fluorescent lights. Like you can see, neon lights. You can totally see like the signs. Basically, the whole premise is you just got backstage passes to the Aerosmith concert, but oh no, you're late. How are we going to get there? LA traffic is the worst. I know. Take a really long car that can't move in and out of traffic really easily. Makes no sense technically, but super fun concept. So you go into yet another phenomenal Disney pre-show where you are actually in the middle of a recording session with Aerosmith, and then their super rad agent is like, guys, you're late. What about all these people? We can't just leave them here. Wait a minute. I love that idea. Let's invite them to the concert. So you hop aboard your limo and you go 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds approximately, and you feel it. And so the ride starts with this literal like literally you go 0 to 60 and your head gets like pushed back against the seat and you just fly. And there's some upside down moments, some corkscrews. We're giving you spoilers about these rides because they've been around for like decades. So you are basically flying through LA traffic to make it to the Aerosmith concert on time, which, spoiler alert, you do. And
Yay.
It's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. I would say if you have motion sickness, if you don't love rides that are mostly in the dark or rides that go upside down, definitely avoid this one. I can pretty much only do this attraction on a good day just because my equilibrium is not what it used to be. But back in my younger days, my brother and I used to get in single rider and lap this ride like all day long.
I would say that Rock and Roller Coaster is definitely Walt Disney World's most thrilling roller coaster on property. So if you have people in your party who are looking for the bigger thrills, if they're really big like Universal roller coaster fans, I'd say Rock and Roller Coaster is the only one that's really on par with those. It's a ton of fun. It again is a shorter ride. I think a lot of people get really scared of Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, but ultimately both rides are quite short, which is, I think, really good. It's a good balance because they're both really thrilling, but they don't last too long where you would get too sick from them unless you have a more serious sensitivity to that. So that wraps up the corner of Sunset Boulevard.
So if you make your way back up Sunset Boulevard and kind of around past the Brown Derby going in the opposite direction, off to the right-hand side is Animation Courtyard. And this has been the home to many things over the years, but the constant here is the Voyage of the Little Mermaid, which is not currently operating, but we will see if it comes back post-COVID. It is a like 20 to 30 minute show where you go under the sea and you basically experience the story of Ariel, from her desiring to get her human legs and meeting Prince Eric and selling her soul to Ursula, and just kind of like a fast-tracked version with a lot of plot holes. It's like Ariel Light, like Lite. Yes. It's like you didn't pay for the app, so this is all you get. it's I'm trying to be really, y'all know how much I love Ariel. Come on. It's just got some plot holes. I think if that was your first encounter with the story, you'd be like, wait, what? Ariel is singing live, which is awesome because you don't really get to hear Ariel sing live anywhere else at Walt Disney World. So that's kind of like the real draw, I think, for a lot of people. And there's Prince Eric and Max, and the puppeteering is awesome. The puppeteers at Disney are phenomenal. But some of the lighting, some of the tech is a little outdated.
It literally feels like going back into the 90s, but I think there's some nostalgic beauty to that. I love that it's a combination of like all these 90s lighting effects, some misty water, live action, as well as movie clips, as well as puppeteering. So it's got a whole thing going on. And fun fact, when I was like 12 years old, there was this like Walt Disney World for kids by kids book where you could write in a little blurb. And I got published as a 12-year-old writing about this ride. So it's still in the book today.
Proud of you.
I'm a published author, but
wow.
Yeah, I gave a really good tip. If you were a kid, make sure not to sit behind a tall adult because you won't be able to see the stage.
Oh, that's so pure.
It's so funny. I saw the book at Barnes & Noble the other day, and my submission is still in there. So I'll link it in the show notes.
Wait a minute.
Buy my book.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like I remember you telling me this like 10 years ago.
It's like my biggest flex.
How funny is it? Honestly, put it on your resume, Jess. That's really notable.
Published author at the age of 12. But
yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. So other areas of Animation Courtyard, kind of right across from Voyage of the Little Mermaid, when you come out is I almost said Playhouse Disney again, old school. The Disney Junior, right? The Disney Junior Live on Stage show, which at nighttime in pre-COVID times turned into this like pretty rad dance party with all of your fave Disney Junior characters. So if you've got some little ones who just don't ever seem to get tired, take them there. They'll fall asleep in the stroller on the way home, I promise. In the dead center of Animation Courtyard used to be the Magic of Disney Animation building where you could meet characters. And of course, the favorite activity of so many people was learning to draw a Disney cartoon with a Disney animator. You would take the drawing class, and then it got replaced with Star Wars Launch Bay when the first installment of the latest trilogy came out. And so you could meet Chewbacca and Kylo Ren, and there would be Jawas walking around like taking your jewelry, and it is really cool. Totally a different feel. But now that Galaxy's Edge is on the other side of the park and Star Wars Launch Bay is still in Animation Courtyard, my hope is that they'll bring back some semblance of the original animation concept and maybe update it a little bit.
We'll have to see what happens.
We'll have to see.
All right, so moving on, we're going to move out of Animation Courtyard, and before we head into the next land, there is one more attraction that is very worth mentioning. It is Walt Disney's One Man's Dream. So this is the area of the entire Walt Disney World Resort that I think pays the greatest respects to Walt. When you walk into One Man's Dream, it's basically like a museum. They have facts about his life. They have different dioramas, like they have a small Sleeping Beauty castle. They have a Jungle Cruise set up. They have all of these different displays. They even have some information about some of the old animation structures they used to use. And it goes through his whole journey, like his whole life story from, living in Kansas City, Missouri when he was younger to moving out to LA and establishing the animation studio and growing into Disneyland and theme parks. And it's so beautiful. More recently, I just found this out and I'm so grateful, but they have a theater at the end where they show a film about Walt Disney's life. Basically, it's a very summarized biography of his story, but I think they hit a lot of the main points and it's done very, very well. Narrated by Julie Andrews, which is even more important. But for a while, they did take that out and they were playing movie previews in there, which, is a more modern day choice. But once things
that's a really nice way of saying that.
Yeah. I mean, once things opened post-COVID, since there haven't been movies coming out recently, I think they reverted back to this film and this tribute. And it was such a pleasant surprise. I was so happy to see that. And I think it's just important to have something like that in the parks for people to go see, to go learn, because there's a lot of history to these parks. And the reason they exist is all because of Walt and the dream he pursued and the film is great because it kind of tells you about all of his ups and downs. Like, it wasn't a straight shot point A to point B. It was a journey, and it was difficult at times, and things still turned out the way they did. So absolutely 100% check out One Man's Dream. And it's a really nice break from the busyness of the parks too, because it's one of the few non like thrill ride attractions in the park. So you can really slow down a bit, take it in, give yourself a rest, but also fuel yourself with the real magic, like the magic behind the parks.
Yeah, I have nothing more to contribute because I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely
Thank you.
worthwhile. So, as you continue past One Man's Dream, you will turn to the right to get to the next land. But if you are a little hungry at this point and want to grab a snack before you turn right to enter the next land, you should continue straight, and then on your left, right before the entrance to Toy Story Land. And keeping in the theme of Pixar, it is the home of the Jack Jack Num Num cookie, which became very famous at Disney California Adventure on the opposite coast. And they had this little standby and credit coaster that sold this cookie that was like Jack Jack's cookie. And it's basically this deep dish, chewy and melty in the middle, crunchy on the outside, chocolate chip cookie. So like there is nothing Jess and I love more than like the smell of a warm chocolate chip cookie and the taste of a warm chocolate chip cookie.
I would say that's correct.
Okay.
Especially these cookies are like out of body experience good. Like,
they're so good.
They're so good, guys.
If you've got a sweet tooth, if you're a chocoholic. Also, they're huge, so you can absolutely share it with the humans that you're with. Cut it up, break it up, take bites if you're vaccinated / live with the people that you're sharing it with. But it's absolutely a snack worth stopping for. Like, that's why we're calling it out on the way. Basically, in case you haven't noticed the trend so far, it's been carrot cake cookie and now it's chocolate chip cookies. So we just really like cookies. And it's a full day to dessert park.
Exactly. Anyways, make sure you get the cookie, and then you can head on in to Toy Story Land and enjoy all of the new attractions
in Andy's backyard.
Yes.
The first one is Slinky Dog Dash, which is a fun coaster, definitely in the style, I would say, of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's very smooth, just like Mine Train. It's not super over the top. There's nothing upside down. There's no crazy drops or anything. It's just the speed and pause moments are what give you the thrill factor. And there are some really sharp turns. And it's entirely outside, so the views of the rest of the park are awesome from up there. I think that's a great draw.
Especially you can see Star Wars.
Yeah, at night.
Edge up there. It's
so cool.
It's a really, really good view. Yeah, I would say this is a great family coaster. For sure.
All of Toy Story Land is like, I mean, it's super colorful. It's super immersive. You've been shrunk down to the size of a toy. So all the benches are made of popsicle sticks and all of the lights are like massive. They are just like those tiny Christmas lights, but they look huge above you and everything is gigantic. So you really feel toy sized and you're just moving around amongst the Tinker Toys and the Lincoln Logs. And
there's even a giant Pixar ball there too, which is a really fun prop.
It's definitely one of those lands you want to like walk through and take the time to look at all the details and find those nostalgic pieces from like your childhood, because a lot of the toys don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, and you'll even see in the cement, like there's a giant footprint from Andy like made in the cement. So the details are unmatched in this land. They really did great. I'd say the only tough thing about Toy Story Land is there really is not a lot of shade. So just watch out for that in the summer. It gets very, very hot out there, and Slinky's line does get quite long. So make sure to prepare for that adequately. Across from Slinky Dog Dash is my favorite attraction of many years. I have a lot of favorites, so
but this was like
this was my
Jess obsession.
This is my OG favorite. So Toy Story Mania, as you guys are all know or are learning right now, is my favorite attraction. When I was younger, I used to make my dad wake up really early with me and we'd go to the park and lap this thing until the line got long. And then when I became a tour guide, I just got to go on all the time and improve my Toy Story Mania skill set. So it's one of my biggest flexes is that I'm really good at this ride. Like once I had a tour with, I think it was 11 men or something, and I beat them all. And I was like,
yeah, you did.
power. So anyways, so Toy Story Mania is an interactive attraction where you are literally playing a video game on this giant screen. You are using the controller in your vehicle and you're pulling this string and shooting targets at this 3D screen. And they're so interactive and cool. Each one has a different theme. There's a barnyard farm one, there's a Green Army Men soldiers one, there is a volcano.
The alien ring toss is my favorite scene.
The alien ring toss, yes, that one's really fun. There's different little tips and tricks in each one. I feel like I should give them to you because if you're listening to this podcast, you deserve a little treat. So if you can work with your partner who you're playing with, it really helps. But so for the alien ring toss one, if you're able to get all of the aliens down at the same time in that rocket, you will unlock a robot who comes up, who pops up, and he opens his mouth. And the point values every time he opens and closes his mouth just increases each time. So if you can hit that, it's amazing. Definitely want to do it. At the volcano, if you're able to hit the volcano balloons, clear all of those, you'll get some comets on each side, right and left sides. You have to hit each comet 3 times, and then you'll get an explosion of balloons. So you can get a ton of points there. And then also on the Green Army Men one, there are 2 flying plates that come up on the left side and the right side of the screen. If you can hit both of those, you are able to unlock a lot of really high point value plates. So those are just 3 of my tips. There are more. DM me on Instagram if you really want to know what they are. But I'm sure the info is out there on the internet. But yeah, seriously, so fun for the whole family. It's really fun too if you have like a competitive spirit in your family. Like people get really, really into it. I'm not competitive whatsoever, but I think this game, that's like the only time I ever get competitive. So
Yeah.
literally I could care less about anything else, like any sports ever. But Toy Story Mania, different story.
As someone who has known you for as long as I have, I can confirm that this is in fact true.
Thank you.
And we love it. And I love watching your Toy Story competitive streak come out. I think it's really precious.
It's funny. It's a different side of me I didn't know existed. So
I like it. I'm here for it.
But
back
yeah.
into the sunlight and the not so shady Toy Story land, there are a couple of more draws before we head into our next land far, far away. There is the Alien Swirling Saucers attraction, which is themed after those lovely green aliens from Pizza Planet. It's very similar to the teacups, but I think it has like a couple more like interesting movements that it does. So if you are into those kind of like spinny fun, pile everyone in attractions, that one usually has the lowest wait time of any of the attractions in Toy Story Land.
I also think the little techno music they play there is pretty funny. Like they
fun.
play that really sad, like When Somebody Loves Me song, and it's like techno.
But it's like, yeah, it's like rave techno, and it's just funny. And then the other attraction, of course, we can't leave Toy Story Land without talking about the food attraction.
Thank you.
There is a little kind of counter service style snack place in Toy Story Land called Woody's Lunchbox. And it is literally a lunchbox that opens up. And because you are the size of a toy, that lunchbox is huge. And there are a few cult favorite snacks here. I know that they were doing the like homemade Pop-Tarts, and there was like a strawberry one and one that was like filled with Nutella or something that people loved. They have something called tachos, which are like tater tot nachos. Jess, I feel like you're here at Woody's Lunchbox for something very specific.
Thank you for recognizing my passions in life. So
feel known here.
I would say that Woody's Lunchbox has some of the best grilled cheese I've found on property. So just head on over there if you want a really good grilled cheese and tomato soup. It's super comforting, especially if you're at Disney on like a cooler or a more dreary day. It's like the best midday snack or lunch you can find. So Highly recommend. I'd say my other best grilled cheese is at Beaches and Cream at the Beach Club. In
Yes.
case you're a big grilled cheese fan, I'm just going to throw that plug in right here.
So this
And
is
I-
now a grilled cheese enthusiast podcast. We know it's very niche, but we hope that you'll subscribe. And every
Thank
week
you.
we'll talk about different grilled cheeses.
Yeah.
I'd say Hollywood Studios has some pretty good niche snacks and foods.
God,
throughout.
can I just say Hollywood Studios has stepped it up. It is a high quality park. It has always been fun. It's always been great, but like it has pulled together so phenomenally over the past few years, and I'm just very impressed.
Yeah, I agree. I always have such a fun day there. Like
Mhm.
more than any other park, I'm always like, oh, I'm sad the day is coming to an end. But of course, we can't come to Hollywood Studios without going to probably the most anticipated park expansion. I mean, since Pandora, but I would say honestly more anticipated than Pandora. Of course, I'm talking about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now, if you are a Star Wars fan, this is going to be the objective of your day. If you are not a Star Wars fan, this should still be in the objective of your day. The Imagineers did such a phenomenal job with making this land feel like you are in a completely different park. Like you're not in Hollywood Studios anymore. You are on Batuu. You can actually walk from Toy Story Land, which is the way we are taking you today. There's another entrance over by Muppet Vision Courtyard on the other side of the Chinese Theater, but we are going to take the pathway from Toy Story Land into Galaxy's Edge. And as you walk around on Batuu, you will see like a Mercado style open marketplace. There's lots of different stands where you can get the infamous blue milk, different like really interesting popcorns and just stuff that feels otherworldly. It's sort of familiar. You're like, this is a snack that I recognize, but the flavors are interesting or something's been done. And of course, since we're still on the subject of food, the kiosk with the infamous Ronto wrap, which Jess, you had the other day. Would you like
can
to
I
talk
talk
about
about this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the food enthusiast of Disney's Hollywood Studios. So the
Okay.
Ronto's wraps are phenomenal. The breakfast one particularly, I love. It's basically that one is a sausage, egg, cheese, and this sauce that's really good. I really don't know what it is, but it ties it all together on this like pita wrap. Super unique. You can't get these anywhere else at Walt Disney World. So if I'm in Hollywood Studios for park open, I am going there and I am getting one of these. Really phenomenal. The lunch one is good too, but I am like, I love breakfast sandwiches, like anything in that realm. So I love the breakfast one. And because you can only get it until about 11.
Yes. So they only serve breakfast from 9 a.m. to 11. So if you want to try this, head
Get
over
there
there right away.
early.
The Ronto wrap is eggs, grilled pork sausage, shredded cheddar, and peppercorn sauce in pita.
Ooh,
And
peppercorn.
they have a plant-based version as well of the breakfast wrap if you are not into meats and eggs and cheeses. And they also have the Rising Moon's overnight oats with dragon fruit. Very
Nice.
interesting.
So definitely utilize your mobile ordering on your My Disney Experience app for that.
Excited too because they recently added this new one that's plant-based where it's grilled zucchini, a smoky chickpea onion slaw, creamy garlic tahini sauce, and fresh cilantro wrapped in pita.
I mean,
I love zucchini. I love garlic and tahini. I'm like, I need to go to Hollywood Studios just for that. And as far as other food options at Galaxy's Edge go, there are quite a few. So in addition to Ronto Roasters and the blue milk stand.
oh yeah, have you tried blue milk?
I have had blue
And
and green, and I hate them both.
Me too.
And I tried them with and without alcohol, and I hate it both ways. It's just gross.
Yeah. I think it's rice milk, if I remember correctly.
So yeah, it's non-dairy. It is rice milk.
Which I love non-dairy. Like I'm all about the non-dairy milks, but it just, I don't know, it tasted chalky to me.
Yes, I agree.
Not a fan.
Also, especially because it's hot in Florida so much of the time, like you're just drinking this weird milk in the heat, and it just feels so wrong in so many ways. But if you want an adult beverage, let me tell you what to do. So if you can snag a reservation, or if you want to go on the walk-up list, Oga's Cantina is such a fun vibe. It's absolutely the cantina from the original films. It's so cool. DJ Rex, Dropping some sick beats.
And Rex is from the original version of Star Tours.
Yeah, he's seen some things. So now he's taking up residence at Oka's. And it's so cool in there because it's like a rotunda. So there's booths that are kind of dark and sort of super relaxing. It's just a great dark air conditioned space if you're just feeling a little overwhelmed by the theme park in the sun situation. If you can grab a reservation, you can actually sit down. They have snacks and things to eat as well as all the cool drinks. And then you can also sit at the bar. And then there are some standing tables as well. Now, be advised, if you have a reservation, you may get a standing table. So if you want to make sure that you sit, let them know when you check in that you do not want a standing table, because I have had a reservation there before and been put at a standing table. Nobody minded, but that is a thing that can happen. The drinks are so cool. Definitely the most, I think, unique drinks on property as far as like theming and just like innovation. And all the ones I've tried are really tasty.
Isn't there that one that like fizz, like it has like a
the fuzzy tauntaun. So if you know what a
Yeah.
tauntaun is, you know. It's like
really
pop rocks on your lips. It's weird.
Yeah.
This drink is hilarious. It is peach vodka, peach schnapps, orange and tangerine juice, pure cane sugar, and the tingling foam. Basically, it's a sugar bomb. I liked the outer rim a lot. The outer rim is silver tequila, acai liqueur, lime juice, cane sugar, and black salt. And it has this like fruit puree thing going on. I don't know. I thought it was really good. It was like a good balance of like sweet and citrusy. Your last dining option in Galaxy's Edge is Docking Bay 7, which is the official counter service restaurant that you'll go into. Right now it's mobile ordering. So you'll place your mobile order, go in, and there's lots of seating inside and outside to choose from. And I've eaten there a couple of times as well. And I really like it. Like, again, decent food options, and definitely some healthier options as well.
I think the cool thing about Star Wars is that a lot of the options for food are very unique, and they're not your typical burgers and chicken nuggets. So that's a huge
that on Batuu.
No. So moving on to the attractions that are in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we have 2 attractions. I'm going to start with the big one first because there's a lot to talk about with that. So Rise of the Resistance is the major attraction in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It is very unique because you do need to enter a virtual queue. And basically, if you are someone who's really good at getting, let's say, like Taylor Swift concert tickets, you're going to use those skills and they are going to come in handy because you are going to need to have some fast fingers on your app to get a spot in line for this ride. So this is the current operating procedure as of March 2021. So it's 7 a.m. the morning when you are going to Hollywood Studios. Wherever you are, you just need to be on your My Disney Experience app and you need to have a Hollywood Studios park reservation. You log on to the app. You're going to join the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance virtual queue. You're going to click join and you are going to go through the steps. It's going to be very self-explanatory on your app. You're going to select the people in your party. If you have park reservations, it might already select the people for you. Then you're going to click through as fast as you possibly can and see if you get a boarding pass. It is not guaranteed. It's almost kind of like a lottery and you have to be very fast. I swear to you, this thing sells out in about 20 to 30 seconds. It's insane. So if you do not get your 7 a.m. one, as of now, they are doing a second opening for the virtual queue at 1 p.m. However, depending on how the ride is acting that day, if you have a later boarding time, you may or may not be able to actually use it. So if you can get in the first one, that's going to be better. So yes, a little bit anxiety inducing, however, very exciting if you're able to get a boarding time. Once you have that secured, you are able to check the status on your app throughout the day, and you'll get a notification when your boarding group is called, and you'll have 2 hours to return to the ride, get scanned in, and you'll wait in the queue and go on the ride itself. So all that being said, this ride is absolutely phenomenal. Another trackless ride system. Again, it is one of the newer ones and not everyone has been on it yet. So I'm not going to give away too many spoilers. However, it's amazing. Again, it's so good. You feel like you are immersed in a Star Wars movie. Most people have seen this by now, but there's a room with stormtroopers and it is gigantic.
Oh my
And you
gosh.
walk. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's so cool. I wish you could stay in there longer, but
Yeah.
it's like the pre-show essentially. And you walk in and it's just this giant room with stormtroopers, and all the cast members are, from the First Order. So they're guiding you along, and they're very in character. And you go through kind of a lot of steps to actually get on the ride. And you see a lot of Kylo Ren, you see some Rey, you see some BB-8. There's even a portion of the ride that kind of feels like Star Tours itself, but not for very long. It's mostly the trackless ride system. So get ready for a really fun ride. This thing is unlike anything Disney's really done before. And I'm blown away every time I've been on it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I honestly could not agree more. My expectations were so high because everyone would not shut up about how phenomenal the ride was, and it exceeded every single one. It is just one of those things you just have to do. And I don't care if you don't care about Star Wars. If you love Star Wars, your brain is going to fall out of your head. But even if you don't love Star Wars, it is still a phenomenal attraction. And it's just such a testament to how far Disney has come and how they really push the envelope, and they're really trying to take cues from, what the guests are excited about and where they're trying to go with tech and just their own innovative principles. And it's just awesome.
So the other attraction in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is called Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. That's really fun. That's kind of an interactive attraction, actually. So you're going to have a position assigned to you. You're either going to be a pilot, gunner, or engineer. Depending on where you're sitting in the ride, you will have different responsibilities. You'll either have to shoot or press buttons or drive the ship.
If you have trouble with the Flight of Passage attraction in Pandora at Animal Kingdom, you probably won't do well with Smuggler's Run, although I think it is less intense on the motion sickness thing a little bit than Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage messes me up, whereas Smuggler's Run really doesn't for some reason. But maybe it's just because I love it, so I'm like forcing myself to be okay. It's really cool though, because you do get to work with everyone and you're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. It feels real. It looks just like it does in the film. You like totally feel like Han Solo and Chewie should be like sitting up front. If you are a Star Wars fan, it's gonna like touch your little nerd heart.
That's ultimately Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Again, there's so much to explore.
Lots of shopping, lots of
shopping, lots of
merchandise,
lots of characters out and about, not really for meet and greets, but more so they're kind of doing their own thing, so you can just see them from afar.
Yeah, they're doing roaming sets, so you can see Rey and Chewbacca and sometimes Kylo Ren, but they're definitely like going about their day. So
yes,
it's still cool to see them around. I think it adds to the authenticity. If you want to take a droid home with you or a very legit lightsaber, you can shell out a couple $100 and Disney will make that happen for you.
Again, if you're a huge Star Wars fan, it's an absolute must do. If you're not a huge Star Wars fan, it's definitely still a must do, at least attraction wise.
Well, we have to quickly touch on the fact that Star Tours is still an attraction that exists at Hollywood Studios just outside of Galaxy's Edge. And that again is another like simulation style one. That one makes me sick.
I think it's because it's a little bit longer of an attraction, but
and it's older.
Yeah, it is older. The cool thing about that is there's different ride sequences. So depending on, again, which vehicle you're in, you might experience a different set, which is really cool. And you go to different planets. That is the one really fun aspect of it. I used to go on it a ton when I was younger, but I think now I'm just kind of like,
we loved it back in the day.
We really did. And I mean, you might get chosen to be the rebel spy. They randomly pick one person in your vehicle to be the rebel spy. So your picture might randomly go on screen, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's always fun when it's like a 5-year-old kid and he's just like, what did I do?
Yeah. So anyway, so that's Star Tours. And then that's a little bit past what we have to talk about next, which is a highlight for all of us, mostly Kristen. So I'm going to let you take this one away.
It's the best part of the park. So As you may remember, before Galaxy's Edge existed, there was a fun part of the park called Streets of America, which is now the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. On the right-hand side is this really awesome spot called Baseline Tap House, where you can grab some craft beer and a pretty epic charcuterie board and a pretzel the size of your face.
The beer is great. The pretzel's great. The vibe is great. Baseline
Yeah.
Tap House is like I think one of my favorite in-park bars that exist.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you're just trying to grab a beer and a snack in the afternoon or the early evening, it's a really chill, great spot to hang out in the park.
The flights are good.
Yes, and they have beer flights, which who doesn't love that? We love options.
Mm-hmm.
On the left-hand side is the most important attraction in all of Hollywood Studios. I'm talking about Muppet Vision 3D. Now, if you've been around for any amount of time, but mostly for the last decade, you know how I feel about this. There are so many montages of me like running ahead of the group to get to this attraction. I just think it's the frumpiest, most ridiculous, amazing thing. It's so funny. The pre-show is even hilarious, possibly more hilarious than the show itself. It is one of those 3D shows, kind of like PhilharMagic, where you get 3D glasses, you go in, there's some gags, there's some laughs, and it's starring the cast of The Muppet Show. And it's just hilarious from start to finish. There's a lot of like cute little details and fun little puns throughout, like both the decor inside the theater and the actual show itself. It's just a laugh, I think, for everyone. And it wouldn't be Hollywood Studios without it for me.
It's super quotable.
It is
super funny.
It is super quotable.
It really is. I mean,
It's great.
You can't beat Kermit, Miss Piggy, Sam Eagle, Fozzie, Gonzo, Bean, Bunny. Bean was my imaginary friend when I was 5 because I loved Muppet Vision that much.
And that's why Jess and I were destined to be friends.
Yeah. So definitely it's a must do at Hollywood Studios for us. Again, it's one of the more
frumpy.
It's frumpy. It's from an older era, but
yeah,
it's timeless to us. So that's what matters.
Yeah, it's perfect in its imperfection. I love everything about it. And whenever they get rid of it, I will probably need to go to therapy for a while.
Don't even speak it into existence. It has to.
Yeah, you're right. So Muppets are forever. And I love the Muppet Courtyard area because not only does it include Muppet Vision, but there's this really fun fountain where Miss Piggy is actually Lady Liberty. And across the way, you may remember Toy Story Pizza Planet being the counter service restaurant there. It is now Pizza Rizzo, which is amazing because Rizzo is my favorite Muppet because he's a little sassy one and he's like totally a New Yorker and he doesn't have time for your crap. And I love everything about him.
Yeah. So if you're looking for that classic Disney pizza, like the little circle ones, that's what they serve there. So.
Yeah, which is a very polarizing topic because I understand that some people are like, that's not pizza. Hello, Jess and I are from the pizza capital of anywhere. That's not Italy.
I low-key love that pizza. Yeah.
It's good. It's not like your thin crust Naples style pizza. It's like thick crust.
That's why I like it.
Definitely tastes like at some point it was frozen, which it totally was, but it's nostalgic. It's like grilled cheese and tomato soup. Like it's just comfort food.
All right. So we're exiting Muppet Vision. We are passing by Star Tours, which we already talked about. And so there's 2 restaurants we need to talk about before we end our Hollywood Studios audio tour. The first one being Sci-Fi Dining Theater.
Yes.
Which is a table service restaurant where you get to sit in a car to eat your meal. And it's like a drive-in theater, like 1950s old-fashioned theater. I think it has one of the coolest ambiances of any restaurant at Disney just because it's so unique. The cars are all like pastel colors and they play on a movie screen. They play this reel of different little cartoon clips. And I don't know, I think for the experience, it's super fun to go to. And especially if you have kids or if you have anyone who's never been to a drive-in, like it's totally fun in a nostalgic vintage kind of way.
It feels like the type of place your grandparents would totally love because they'd probably be reminiscing about like some of their first dates. And if you have little kids, they're probably going to be like, what the heck is the drive-in? But honestly, it's so cool. Like you're sitting in a 1950s convertible while you're eating your dinner, and they have milkshakes and burgers with those like thick cut diner style fries, and it just feels very nostalgic all around.
It's drive-in food,
Yeah, but
but
just
yeah.
enjoy the ambiance for sure. Speaking of the 1950s,
So the other restaurant we have to talk about is 50s Primetime Cafe. So that one is closer to the Echo Lake area. It's like being transported to the 1950s into Ma's Kitchen. And there you're going to have selections of foods such as like fried chicken and pot roast, like the most comfort food you can possibly think of. And the concept is that the waiters and waitresses are themed to the 1950s. So if you're spending too much time on your phone or if you're acting up in any way, they'll call you out for it. They'll like pick on you a little bit, or they'll make you set the table and wash your hands and like do all these funny antics. So it's a whole experience to be there. And it really just kind of depends on who you get as your server
yeah.
for your meal, because depending on how into their character they are, it could be a totally different experience. It could be really fun.
Some of our earliest Disney memories together were at 50s primetime, and we have had some killer servers over the years, and we even had repeat ones like consecutive years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so much fun if you get into it. I think the servers also have a better experience when you're being a good sport about it. So I'd say this is one of those ones where like you really want to give yourself over to it. Like don't be offended when they're like, put your phone away, elbows off the table, set the table. Like this is part of the experience. They're not trying to be rude to you. I've seen some guests like sitting around me get kind of like not offended, but like a little miffed and annoyed. And I'm like, look, this is part of the fun. You're in the 50s. You're at your mom's house. You're not going to put your elbows on the table and be on your phone when your mom has cooked all this delicious comfort food for you. Like you're going to enjoy it and you're going to help out. You're going to set the table. So give yourself over to it. Just enjoy it for what it is. And is there like, okay, everyone has their favorite thing at 50s because there are some entrees that have been on the menu for years. Like they do not change the menu at 50s. It's
No,
pretty
they
much
don't.
standard. And there are some things that everyone like. I think the onion rings are amazing.
Yeah, they're
Um,
really good.
and
Free
I
my
love,
onion issues.
yeah, I think the pot roast is really good. The mashed potatoes are really good. Like it's just your classic like Americana, Andy Griffith, like Aunt B made you fried chicken
Yeah.
kind of food.
I think my order has always been the fried chicken since the first time I went there. And also the peanut butter and jelly milkshake is like a fan favorite. Yeah, it's really good.
It
Again, Hollywood,
sounds gross, but it's delicious.
it's so good. Hollywood Studios and their desserts, they've really got it down. So
It's like you're drinking a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in like a
yeah,
good way.
yeah. So and
Absolutely.
too, if you can't get a reservation, you can get one at the bar. So
Mhm.
hot tip.
50s Primetime Cafe is located on, as Jess said, the Echo Lake area. And at Christmas time, it's really decorated beautifully. They actually have the Christmas tree, like the big park Christmas tree, situated on the water, which is really cool. In pre-COVID times, Echo Lake was also the home of the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, which was a live stunt show featuring characters from Indiana Jones, which was actually a super fun show. And now is home to one of the only live performances currently operating at Walt Disney World. At the very front of Echo Lake is the Frozen sing along,
And
which
that's
is a fun attraction. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's only based on the first film, unfortunately, but because there's so many good ones from the second, I can't wait for them to do an update. Although if you go at Christmas time, they include songs from Olaf's Frozen Adventure, which is a great Christmas special, if you ask me. And so you'll see Anna and Elsa and Kristoff. And the highlight of the show is the two performers who portray the royal historians of Arendelle. They are hilarious. And that show is absolutely fun for all ages. Like if you have little Frozen fans in your family, it's definitely a must do. But even if you don't think you like Frozen that much, I'd say give it a shot if you have the time in your day because it's always so funny.
And then I think one more thing we have to mention in the
Yes.
Echo Lake area before wrapping up our Hollywood Studios tour. I think we've covered everything besides this.
Mhm.
We have to mention for Teresa, Gertie.
Gertie, absolutely.
So Gertie is the dinosaur on Echo Lake. She's green and really cute. She's an ice cream stand, ultimately open at certain times of the day, certain seasons, etc. But she's like one of our icons of Hollywood Studios. So if you're looking for some soft serve ice cream, visit our girl Gertie at Echo Lake on your way in or out of the park. She's just so cute, and
She's iconic.
she's iconic, and she's our friend Teresa's favorite. So
Yeah.
shout out
Yeah.
to Teresa and Gertie.
Gertie's been around, I mean, since the beginning of Hollywood Studios. She's just guarding that side of the park.
Yeah, she has the
She's
old
real
like
cute.
classic Hollywood Studios feel to her, like one of the OG things that are left now because Hollywood Studios has gone through so many transformations.
And
So
speaking of the Hollywood Studios transformations, this
thanks
is
for
the
picking up.
perfect segue into the final little part of this episode that we would be remiss if we did not discuss.
We wanted to quickly go through some things that we do miss at Hollywood Studios.
Yes.
One thing I think being when we started off, we said, it used to be called MGM Studios. So throw back to that.
Do you miss the hat? This is
You
a
know what? I
controversial
actually
thing.
do.
I miss the hat.
I loved the hat.
I think it looks very classic now, but I loved the hat and I was very sad when they took the hat away.
Yeah, I mean, Sorcerer Mickey is my favorite form of Mickey.
My favorite type of Mickey is a sorcerer Mickey.
It's true. And I don't know. I thought it was really magical, and
Yeah.
I think I grew up with it, so
Yep,
it
that's
feels
totally it.
nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you miss the Great Movie Ride?
I do, but like I said before, I knew it was time for something to change, whether they updated the IPs and like kept the same concept
Yeah,
or did something totally different. But I'm so blown away by what they did with Runaway Railway. I'm totally fine with that change. Like
yeah,
they did a phenomenal enough job that I don't really miss Great Movie Ride other than like the nostalgia piece.
yeah. I
But
mean, I miss it. I think I miss it from a few years before they closed it because it started changing a bit towards the last few
okay.
years.
Yeah.
With the narration, it became automated instead of the cast
Mhm.
members, and I think I miss it during its prime days. So
Yeah, I
at
agree with
least it lives on YouTube. I think I'd love to do like a Great Movie Ride movie watch list. That would be really a fun
Oh,
undertaking because I don't
yeah,
think I've
that's
seen them
fun.
all. So
There is
um
something right over by the Great Movie Ride that is not on YouTube that I
mm,
can't enjoy anymore that
correct.
I really do miss. And it is the Starring Roles Cafe. Right next to the Hollywood Brown Derby. Basically, it was my excuse to eat cupcakes for breakfast, but here was our vibe. Jess and Kristen, imagine this. You're with us. We're 16 and 18 years old.
2011.
We're getting a rope drop at Hollywood Studios. We are booking it to Toy Story Mania for that Fast Pass, that paper Fast Pass ticket. And then we are booking it to Starring Roles to get in line, not to get breakfast, no eggs, no bagels. No. The red velvet cheesecake cupcake was the best cupcake on property, bar none.
It was
Just
perfect.
nodding in agreement. It was a red velvet cupcake with a cream cheese frosting and a cheesecake center with like toffee bits all on top and chocolate drizzle.
I
And
literally can picture how it
Yep.
tasted.
Yep. It was magical. It was just everything you want a cupcake to be and then some. It was huge. It was probably like 7 days worth of sugar and horrible for you, but we were young and thriving and it was fine. And there were a lot of other really good ones there as well. There was like a marble one that they did that was really yummy. They did this Yoda one during Star Wars weekends that they used to do at the park, and it was like chocolate with this like hazelnut buttercream. It basically just tasted like Nutella, which we love.
There was a Darth Vader peanut butter one, which was really
Yes.
good. And then there
Yes,
was a Butterfinger one, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was a great place. We were very, very sad when it closed. And they had like other options too. They had croissants, bagels, turnovers, your typical pastries and breakfast options. But then at lunch, they also had sandwiches that were like served on focaccia that were really good. And then they even had like sushi there as well. It was kind of a whole jumbled mix.
So basically, Starring Roles is a huge loss. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of disappointing because I think Studios does need a few more breakfast options, but who
Yeah.
knows? It's literally been sitting there
Also
since it
just like
closed.
sitting empty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really disappointing and very sad, but
Like the sign is still there, the tables are still there. It's just sitting
it's
there
very
empty.
it's very weird, but
And I'm waiting for like a revival because honestly, where are you now that I need you?
so
Well, there is one more food spot at
yes,
Hollywood Studios that we need to talk about.
the writers stop.
Yes, at the end of Commissary Lane, which is this little pathway just to the left of the Chinese theater, where you will find the ABC Commissary. That is a very large quick service restaurant. I love that street because there's palm trees and they play like old sitcom themes. And then you get to the end of that street, and right next to Sci Fi was this little place called the Writer's Stop. And I
Ugh.
literally used to like go read books there when because when you live locally, you can just like go to the park whenever. I would like just go read there and get coffee. They would have coffee and pastries. That was the original home of the carrot cake cookie. And it was like a bookstore. You could find all these different Disney books. And so you could just pick one up and start reading it. There were couches and high top tables. And it was just like this cozy little hidden, like junior Barnes and Noble style cafe right in the middle
Exactly.
of a Disney theme park. And it was like, it just spoke to my soul.
That was a hard loss. So I would say both Starring Roles and writers stop were really
Mhm.
hard for us to lose, but
Mhm.
we
No.
talked about animation
Mhm.
a bit again just to throw it in the throwbacks. I really missed the drawing class from there. That was a
Yep.
ton of fun. And then, of course, we have to mention the Streets of America, which was in the back of the park. Now where Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is mostly, but that was themed like very old school.
It
Was it
was like New
New
York
York
and then it
and
was like San
California?
Francisco. Yeah. But really, it was a vehicle. It was the backdrop. It was the scene. It was the stage that was set at the end of every year for my favorite thing that Disney has ever done that is no longer with us. That literally breaks my heart every year when Christmas comes around. It's the Osborne family spectacle of dancing lights.
And if you want to hear a ton about this, we have a whole podcast episode about Disney Christmas things, and we
Yes.
could not stop talking about it. But
Yes.
Kristen will give her a mini summary in this episode as
Well,
well.
I was going to say, we'll keep it brief here just for the sake of my heart and Jess's heart and the fragility of our grief about the Osborne lights. If you don't know, basically, the entire street and also the side street that was also a part of Streets of America would be decked out head to toe, top of building to the bottom of the building, and everything in between. Even in between the buildings, there would be like coverings of lights. And they all danced to some of the best Christmas songs, including a song that was written specifically or composed, I guess we should say, specifically for the Osborne Lights. And it was inspired by, of course, the Osborne family who lived near Little Rock, Arkansas. And Jennings Osborne made these awesome displays of lights for his daughter, and then they became popular in their neighborhood. Disney got whiff of it like 20 something odd years ago. And they ran at Disney, I think, for 20 consecutive years. And I just loved going there and like sitting on the curb and drinking hot cocoa and watching all the lights and watching everyone enjoy it. It was the most immersive, sensory overload, amazing, Christmassy, festive thing you could do. And it was perfect. It was literally flawless. And it's gone forever.
Yeah.
2015 was the last year.
And I think out of everything at Hollywood Studios, we can both confidently say that's what we miss the most.
Mhm.
Actually, probably out of everything in Walt Disney World that has
Honestly,
been
I was
taken
going to
away,
say, yep,
that's what I miss the most for
I
sure.
agree completely.
Now you know. So, is
Not
there
to end the
anything
episode on a sad note,
on a nostalgic
on
note?
a nostalgic note.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited for all of the ways that, like Jess said, Studios has really come into its own, and all of the things that I see around the park that I know that they're still gonna do and change, and just for the evolution of that. And honestly, like, let's have a moment of gratitude for how many times we got to experience the Osborne lights. I think that that's such a blessing. So Really
Yes.
thankful for
And
those moments.
starring roles and writer stuff
And cupcakes and carrot cake cookies.
and great movie
Special
ride
touches,
and all of it.
all of it. Hollywood
Studios,
Studios, you're an adventure.
yeah, Studios has been a great park through all of the phases,
Mhm.
through the old and through the new. And I'm just grateful it exists. It's a great park.
Thank you guys for coming to Hollywood Studios with us.
Yes, next time we're going to hop on over to Animal Kingdom. So if you are ready to hop on over to a new park, join us again next week on Tuesday at 8 a.m. And in the show notes, we will link all of our previous park audio tours. We have Magic Kingdom and Epcot complete already. So if you haven't listened to those and you need some listening material this week while you're waiting, you can catch on up with those. So yeah, until next time, we'll talk to you soon. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of ReDIScover.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you.
Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation and let us know what you think we should talk about next.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
Stay frumpy!